What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to mold this badass little sculpture from Regalado. This is the little girl from the movie 30 Days of Night, one of my favorite vampire films. So if you'd like to see more content like this, please hit that like, subscribe, and bell notification, and share it with all your friends if you could. I would greatly appreciate it. Please enjoy the video. So now we're going to pour in one spot in the mold. If you plan on making molds and don't have a degasser, I suggest you invest in one. It's worth its weight in gold. There will not be a single bubble in this mold. You would be able to cut this in half, cut it up everywhere and not find any bubbles. I pour in one spot, that way the silicone finds its way around everything, works the bubbles out as it goes along. Some people pour directly over their object. I don't like doing that. I don't want to trap bubbles. Even though you do degas it, you can trap bubbles. Normally I would release my sculpture. I didn't release this one. It should come off with no problem. I want this to cover over the sculpture at least 1/4 of an inch. Once I scrape the bucket, it will probably be at least 1/4 of an inch over the sculpture, the highest point in the sculpture. Again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send me a message. All right, the first half is done. Now we'll use the canned air just to blow out some of those bubbles. This material will take about 6 hours to cure. See you back in about 6 hours. Okay, it's been 6 hours since our last get together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to separate the silicone from the base. And what I like to do is douse my hot glue with 99% alcohol. If any of you have ever used hot glue on anything, you know how difficult it can be to get apart, but with 99% alcohol, it makes it quite easy. So I can actually get it started. You can just sit there and easily peel it right up. Foam core is now trash. I'm going to gently just pry the silicone, because if I try to pick the silicone up and the clay sticks to the table, it could pull our sculpture out of the silicone, and I don't want that. I want everything to stay together. So it should turn over nicely. Hopefully I didn't damage the sculpture part. So we want everything to stay in the mold. I'm going to throw this clay away. And now we need to clean all the excess clay out and trim all the silicone. Aside from that, looks pretty good. We'll be right back. One of the first things that we're going to do now that we've turned the mold over is we're going to trim off the excess helps if you have a nice sharp pair of scissors. So now I'm going to start scrubbing the clay, the excess clay that's inside the mold. So just going to get a bunch of water in here and being very careful not to dislodge the sculpture. Definitely don't want to do that. Spray bottle with some water. You don't ever want to use metal tools on anything like this. Take a chance of scratching it. If you have a water-based sculpture, it makes it very difficult to clean like this because you are putting water on top of a water-based material, which will dissolve it. So you have to be very careful. This being resin already, a one-of-a-kind, shouldn't damage it all, but the only thing that it will do is take the paint off, but so far the paint has done very well with as rough as I've been with it. I want to get every bit of clay out of every nook and cranny. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. Whatever brushes you're using for cleaning clay out, I would not use those for painting anymore. If you're a painter, they can get pretty damaged. So I would dedicate brushes just for this reason. So looking at it from this angle, I see a bunch of clay still trapped down inside right here. I'm trying to be very careful not to bend or distort the mold because I don't want to loosen the sculpture up at all. I want it to stay in there nice and tight. I don't know if you can see right here, there's a big old chunk of clay. Just give it a little once over and see where we're at. Again, you don't want any clay left behind because then that will become part of the new sculpture. We don't want any new parts of the sculpture except for where we intentionally sculpted. I think she's good for now. We've gone ahead and mixed up about 650 grams of silicone. We went ahead and released the mold with Zip 301. I don't know if you can, Zip 301 pattern release, mold release. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and start in one spot and let that just start flowing. As I've said before, you want to pour in one spot, let the material find its level basically. You don't want to pour directly over a sculpture and possibly trap an air bubble. So the only time that I move it is I will move it where it's still touching the silicone itself, not the actual model. Looks like we should have just enough. One of the things you can do is you can go to your local Staples stationery store and pick up some letters, or you could use hot glue to write the person's name. In this case, we're going to be doing 30 Days of Night. So these letters will not sink. They'll basically go exactly where they're at right there. When this sets up, you just pop them out, put them back in your box, ready for the next mold. I hope you've enjoyed this video. We're going to get right into the arm and bear mold. I've gone ahead and re-glued the hand back to the bear. So we're all one piece now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill in some of the spots with wax and re-sculpt it so it looks a little bit better, little areas down in here. So we're just going to take our wax and just try to rework some of this area. And wax can always be taken right back off. So here I'm just trying to follow the same curve of the hand here, trying to make it look as close to the original shape as I can. I'm trying to connect this spot with this spot, trying to make it look natural. So I think that that looks pretty decent. It looks weird because of the color, but if you're looking at the shape minus the color, that's kind of what I'm looking for. And the nice thing about a round tool like this is I can rest it onto the resin part of the sculpture here, so it rides along that edge instead of digging through it. It's keeping the tool kind of right where I need it to follow the same plane going this way. So I'm using that as to my advantage. There's a line in the sculpture here, so I'm going to try to carry that on up to the palm of the hand where the little girl's hand is, trying to keep the same texture of the original sculpture, not trying to re-sculpt, just make it look as natural like it was the same original sculpture. So far, I think that's just about where we want to be. Do a little bit more and call that good. All right, we'll be right back. So I've gone ahead and cut a little bit of space out around the arm. I'm going to cut a few more pieces. So I will keep it this, and then I will come back. I went ahead and put all the keys in off camera, laid up the rest of the clay, went ahead and built my box, and I went ahead and weighed out about 100 grams of silicone. So we are going to go ahead and pour. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please leave them in the comments below, or you can go ahead and directly email me. And that seemed to be a perfect amount. And we'll be right back to do the second half. All right, I've gone ahead and built the box around the mold. I've sprayed the silicone and the part with 301 spray release, as I did in the other mold. I didn't want to bore you all with the process again. And you'll notice, normally I would put a pour spout right about here on that little nub that we made, but I'm going to go ahead and pour it without it. And then what that's going to do is that'll give me a nice clean mold, so there won't be any holes, any pour spouts. And I'm actually going to do another video of duplicating the mold, so that'll be another video coming up very soon. And what that'll do is that'll allow us to pour several of the same mold, and we'll decide where we're going to put the pour spout there. That way, if it doesn't work right, then we can change it in another mold. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mix up some silicone and pour the second half of this. We'll be right back. All right, I've gone ahead and weighed out about 100 grams of silicone. We're going to go ahead and start pouring into the lower part of the mold, and any of the spaces in between the mold and the mold wall. I'm not worried about those gaps because I actually released the whole mold itself all over the outside and where the part is itself. So anything that leaks down underneath, it's not going to be a problem because I've already released the mold and it'll peel right off. And then I will end up trimming that. All right, so I just guesstimated on the 100 grams, so let's hope that it's correct. Like I said, we want to try to pour in one spot and let the silicone flow and find its level. And you want at least 1/4 of an inch over the highest point of your part. I could scrape my cup, but I don't think I'm going to need to. You can see it filled up pretty much all the way around. I think it looks all right. So I'm gonna use a little bit of canned air just to blow some of the bubbles that come up. I'll do that for about 5 minutes till they stop. And then we'll be back in about 4 to 6 hours.